Evening, we begin tonight with breaking news. We have obtained what is expected to be a central piece of the government's case against Donald Trump. The actual audio recording of the former president talking as if he's showing a highly classified document on U.S. war plans against Iran with people not cleared to even know it exists, let alone what's in it. In a moment, only on CNN, you will hear what jurors will hear one day. The recording was made 2 summers ago, July 2021, at the former president's club in Bedminster, New Jersey. You will clearly hear the former president as he is speaking to several people. According to the special counsel's indictment, they include a writer working on Mark Meadows' memoir, the publisher, and 2 of Trump's staff members.
He very clearly appears to be showing it to them.
He
of
says,
course,
look.
Only the people in the room could know that, but you can hear in that why this is so critical to Jack Smith's case, because it's Trump acknowledging, I have this document, it is secret, it is classified, I cannot declassify it now because he's 6 months out of office. And it's just remarkable to hear him actually saying it. And I was talking to someone in Trump's orbit about this, because obviously a lot of people, several people in his orbit have heard it themselves when they found out about it in mid-March. And we were talking about comparing it kind of to the Access Hollywood tape, how if you just had a transcript of that, it wouldn't have been maybe as, controversial and contentious as it was when you could actually hear it. Yeah. Same with this. The fact that, we could read the transcript, but hearing it, I think, drives it home so much more.
So this was not circumstantial evidence. This was not inference or interpretation. This was Trump, in his own words, describing exactly what prosecutors were accusing him of: keeping classified documents after leaving office, knowing they were still classified, showing them to unauthorized people, all of it captured on audio. And Jack Smith told investigators this was critical evidence, crucial, the kind of thing that could convince a jury beyond any doubt that Trump committed a crime. And the document Trump is talking about on that tape is not some random memo or newspaper clipping. It is a Pentagon war plan, a top secret plan prepared by the Defense Department and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mark Milley, for a potential attack on Iran. This is the kind of document that, if it falls into the wrong hands, could endanger American troops, compromise intelligence sources, give enemies insight into U.S. military capabilities and strategy. This is serious stuff. And Trump is waving it around at a social meeting with people who work in publishing, people who have no clearances, no need to know, no authorization to see classified military plans. So when we talk about a fatal recording, this is it. This is the tape that Jack Smith was ready to play for a jury. This is the evidence that prosecutors believed would have led to a conviction if the case had gone to trial. Because how do you defend against your own voice saying the things you are accused of? How do you claim you did not know the documents were classified when you are on tape calling them highly confidential? How do you claim you thought everything was declassified when you were on tape saying, but now I can't declassify it? You cannot. There is no defense. That is why it is fatal. And here's the thing that makes this even more troubling. Trump did not have to make this recording. Nobody forced him to talk about classified documents at that meeting. Nobody made him wave the papers around. Nobody put a gun to his head and said, describe this top secret war plan to people who are not cleared to see it. He did it voluntarily because he wanted to show off. He wanted to prove that Mark Milley, not him, was the one who wanted war with Iran. He was using a classified document as a prop in a personal vendetta. And in the process, he created the single most damaging piece of evidence in the entire classified documents case against him. Now, the case got dismissed. Trump got immunity. The charges were dropped. But that recording still exists. Jack Smith still has it. Congress has heard about it. The media has aired it, and it is sitting there as proof, undeniable proof, that Trump knowingly and willfully kept classified documents he had no right to possess, even if he cannot be prosecuted for it now. Even if immunity protects him, that recording is a permanent record of his crime. And it is something prosecutors, investigators, and his political opponents can point to forever as evidence that Trump is reckless, lawless, and too dangerous to be trusted with America's secrets. So let us break this down. Let us talk about what is actually on the Bedminster tape. Let us look at why Jack Smith considered it critical evidence, and let us figure out what this recording means for Trump's legal and political future, even if the criminal case is dead. All right, so let us get into the details of what is actually on this tape, because the specifics matter. The recording is from July 2021, about 6 months after Trump left office. He is at his Bedminster Golf Club in New Jersey. The people in the room are working on a memoir from Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff. There is a writer, a publisher, and some Trump staff members. And the conversation turns to Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff during Trump's presidency. Trump is mad at Milley. He thinks Milley undermined him, leaked against him, portrayed Trump as wanting war when really Milley was the warmonger. And to prove his point, Trump pulls out a document. Now, we do not know if he physically showed the document to the people in the room or just waved it around, but we know from the audio that he is referring to a specific piece of paper. Rustling sounds are heard on the tape, papers being moved, and Trump starts describing it. He says, "These are the papers. This was done by the military and given to me." And then he calls it highly confidential. He calls it secret. And he says, "This is a plan of attack against Iran. A Pentagon plan prepared by the Defense Department showing how the U.S. would strike Iran if ordered to do so." Al Jazeera, the New York Times, CNN, all the major outlets covered this when the tape came out, and they all focused on the same key moment. Trump says, "As president, I could have declassified it, but now I can't. Now I can't." That phrase, "now I can't," that is the fatal part. Because Trump's whole defense up until that point had been that everything he took from the White House was automatically declassified. He claimed he had a standing order that anything he removed was declassified just by virtue of him taking it. His lawyers argued this in court. His supporters repeated it on TV. But on the Bedminster tape, Trump himself contradicts that story. He admits that this document, this Iran war plan, is still classified. And he admits he does not have the power to declassify it anymore because he is no longer president. PBS NewsHour broke down the significance of this. They pointed out that Trump is essentially confessing to two crimes on the tape. First, willful retention of classified national defense information because he is admitting he kept a classified document after leaving office. Second, unauthorized disclosure because he is showing or describing that document to people who do not have security clearances. The people in that room, the writer and publisher working on Meadows' book, they had no clearances, no need to know, no authorization to see or hear about a top secret Pentagon war plan. And Trump knew that, but he showed it to them anyway because he wanted to make a point about Milley. And the content of the document matters too. This is not some random piece of paperwork. This is a war plan, a detailed military strategy for attacking Iran. The kind of document that includes information about U.S. capabilities, vulnerabilities, tactics, targets. If that information gets out, if it leaks to Iran or to other adversaries, it could endanger American troops. It could compromise intelligence sources. It could give Iran time to prepare defenses or move assets. This is about national security, not just about Trump breaking rules. And Trump is treating it like a toy, like a prop he can wave around to win an argument at a social meeting. CBS News reported that when Jack Smith got hold of this tape, he immediately recognized it as crucial evidence. Federal investigators told CBS that the recording was one of the strongest pieces of evidence in the entire classified documents case. Why? Because it is Trump's own voice. It is not a witness saying Trump did this or Trump said that. It is Trump himself on tape describing his conduct in a way that aligns perfectly with what prosecutors were accusing him of. You cannot cross-examine a tape. You cannot claim the witness is lying or misremembering. The defendant's own words are right there, recorded, undeniable. And Smith's indictment of Trump on classified documents charges specifically cited the Bedminster tape as evidence. The indictment described the meeting, the document, Trump's statements on the recording. It used Trump's own admission that he could not declassify the document anymore as proof that he knew he was violating the law. Because if Trump knew the document was still classified, and he knew he did not have authority to declassify it, and he kept it and showed it to people anyway, that is willful violation of the law. That is exactly what the statute prohibits. ABC News did a timeline of the special counsel's investigation, and they highlighted the Bedminster tape as a turning point. Before the tape, prosecutors had circumstantial evidence that Trump kept classified documents. They had the fact that he took boxes to Mar-a-Lago. They had witness statements that he refused to give everything back, but they did not have Trump's own admission that he knew the documents were classified. The tape gave them that. It gave them Trump saying in his own words that this document is secret. It is classified, and I cannot declassify it. That is proof of knowledge. That is proof of intent. That is everything a prosecutor needs to prove willfulness. Now, the case ultimately got dismissed because of immunity rulings and procedural issues. But the Los Angeles Times and other outlets pointed out that on the facts, on the evidence, Jack Smith believed he had a case that could win at trial. And the Bedminster tape was a huge part of why he believed that, because it is so hard to defend against. Trump's lawyers would have had to argue that he did not mean what he said on the tape, that when he called the document highly confidential and secret, he was joking or exaggerating, that when he said, "Now I can't declassify it," he was confused or misspoke. But that is a tough sell to a jury when they can hear the tape themselves, hear the context, hear Trump's tone, and the way he is using the document to make a point. And this is not the only time Trump's own words have become evidence against him. CNN did a piece connecting the Bedminster tape to other recordings that hurt Trump legally. The perfect phone call with Ukraine, where Trump asked Zelensky to investigate Biden. The fined 11,780 votes call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Trump's public statements on January 6th, telling his supporters to march to the Capitol. All of these are examples of Trump creating evidence against himself by talking too much, by bragging, by trying to prove a point without thinking about the legal consequences. And the Bedminster tape fits that pattern. He wanted to show that Milley was the warmonger, that he had proof. So he pulled out a classified document and waved it around. And in the process, he confessed to a felony on tape. Forbes reported on this too, noting that Trump appeared to admit taking a secret document about an Iran attack without declassifying it. And that admission, that on-the-record moment, it does not go away just because the criminal case got dismissed. It is still out there. It is still evidence of what Trump did. And it can still be used against him politically, even if it cannot be used to convict him criminally, because voters can listen to that tape. They can hear Trump describing a classified war plan and admitting he cannot declassify it. They can decide for themselves whether that is the kind of person they want as president, whether that is someone who can be trusted with America's secrets, whether that is someone who respects the law and national security, or someone who treats classified documents as personal property to be used however he wants. So let us break this down into the core pieces, because the Bedminster tape is really a case study in how Trump's own behavior creates his biggest legal problems. First, the recording is direct evidence of willful retention of classified documents. Trump is describing a Pentagon war plan. He is calling it highly confidential and secret. He is saying it was done by the military and given to him while he was president, and he is admitting that as president he could have declassified it, but now he cannot. That last part, "now I can't," that is the proof that he knows the document is still classified and he knows he does not have authority to declassify it anymore. That knowledge is what makes the retention willful rather than accidental. Second, the tape shows Trump disclosing classified information to unauthorized people. The individuals in that room, the writer and publisher working on Meadows' memoir, they did not have security clearances. They had no need to know about a Pentagon war plan for attacking Iran. And Trump knew that, but he showed or described the document to them anyway because he wanted to make a point about Mark Milley. That is unauthorized disclosure. That is a separate violation of the law, and it is all captured on the recording. Third, the content of the document makes this especially serious. This is not a routine memo or a mundane piece of paperwork. This is a war plan, a detailed military strategy for one of the most sensitive potential conflicts the United States could face. If information from that plan leaks to Iran or to other adversaries, it could have real national security consequences. It could endanger troops. It could compromise intelligence sources and methods. It could give enemies insight into how the U.S. military operates. And Trump was treating it like a piece of evidence in a personal grudge match against his former chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Fourth, the tape directly contradicts Trump's public defenses. For months, Trump and his lawyers argued that everything he took from the White House was automatically declassified. They claimed he had a standing order that declassified anything he removed. But on the Bedminster tape, Trump admits that this Iran document is still classified. He says he cannot declassify it now because he is no longer president. So either Trump was lying on the tape, which seems unlikely given the context, or he was lying in his public statements about automatic declassification. Either way, the tape undermines his credibility and his legal defense. Fifth, Jack Smith considered this recording critical evidence because it is Trump's own voice confessing to the conduct he was charged with. You cannot cross-examine a tape recording. You cannot claim the witness is biased or confused. The defendant's own words are right there, preserved forever. And what Trump says on that tape, that the document is classified, that he knows he cannot declassify it, that he is showing it to people anyway, that is exactly what the indictment accused him of doing. So the tape is not just supporting evidence. It is proof from Trump's own mouth that the charges were accurate. Sixth, this fits a pattern of Trump creating evidence against himself through recordings and public statements, the Ukraine call, the Georgia call, the January 6th speech. Over and over, Trump says things that end up being used as evidence in investigations and legal cases. And the reason this keeps happening is that Trump cannot resist talking. He cannot resist bragging. He cannot resist trying to prove he was right or that his critics were wrong. And in the process, he hands prosecutors ammunition. The Bedminster tape is the perfect example. Nobody made him talk about that classified document. He chose to bring it up because he wanted to show off, and now it is permanent evidence against him. Seventh, even though the criminal case is dead, the tape still matters politically. Voters can listen to it. They can hear Trump admitting he kept a classified war plan and could not declassify it. They can hear the rustling of papers as he waves the document around. They can hear him treating national security like a game, and they can decide whether that is acceptable behavior for a president. So, while Trump avoided criminal conviction through immunity, he cannot avoid the political consequences of that recording. His opponents will use it against him. Ads will feature clips of it. Every time there is a debate about whether Trump can be trusted with classified information, that tape will come up. Eighth, the tape raises serious questions about Trump's fitness to handle sensitive information. If he is willing to show a top-secret war plan to unauthorized people at a social meeting just to win an argument, what else might he do? What other secrets might he mishandle? What other classified information might he treat as personal property? These are the questions that national security professionals and military leaders have been asking since the Mar-a-Lago case began. And the Bedminster tape gives those questions a concrete foundation. It is not speculation. It is Trump on tape doing exactly what his critics warned he would do. Ninth, the fact that this was about an Iran war plan specifically is significant. Iran is one of America's primary adversaries. The Pentagon prepares detailed military plans for potential conflicts with Iran because the threat is real and ongoing. Those plans are among the most closely guarded secrets in the US government, and Trump was waving one around at a golf club. If Iran's intelligence services had gotten wind of that document, if they had managed to obtain a copy, or even just learn what was in it, they could have adjusted their defenses, moved their assets, prepared countermeasures. Trump's casual handling of that document could have had strategic consequences for American military planning. So what does this all mean for whether Trump faces jail? Well, in the immediate sense, he does not. The criminal case was dismissed. He has got immunity as a sitting president. Subscribe and don't miss me on YouTube. I'll bring you the hottest and most accurate news about current events in the US.